first speaker will be talking from an advanced manual, the entertaining speaker from Project 4, a dramatic talk. He was touched 3 years ago from a story by a young immigrant girl whose dreams didn't turn out as planned. Please help me welcome Aaron Kelton.
What are you looking at? Yeah, you'd better keep walking. Isn't it funny how I still remember the first words uttered to me by Bucky Worthington on the first day of school in 3rd grade? What's his problem? Wait, did I do something wrong? Later in recess, I can remember Evan Thornton running up to me and my friend, ripping off the top of the salt and pepper packet and dumping it into our hair. I was frozen. What just happened? I can still remember taking my seat in class when Travis Reister tripped the fat kid. Everyone laughed. Now, why can't I just as easily remember the good memories as well as the bad? But I distinctly remember the unsolicited bullying. I remember their names, and I remember their faces. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, in the fall of 2009, there was an Irish immigrant girl, Phoebe Prince, and she enrolled at South Hadley High School in Massachusetts. She was 15, a freshman, and she was looking to make memories of her own, making friends, making good grades, and possibly making the in crowd. And she had dreams too, going to college after. She wanted to be a journalist, and getting married, having children, going to t-ball practices, and maybe even growing old with her high school sweetheart. In the fall of 2009, she started dating a football player, a senior, no less. And the other girls took notice of this little Irish girl. But instead of congratulating her, they started to torment her, and intimidate her, and stalk her, and bully her. They would call her a whore, and they called her a slut. When they wanted to be more specific, they called her an Irish slut. This continued relentlessly all during fall 2009, until the end of fall semester she got a brief reprieve during Christmas, and one of the nicest gifts she got was from her 12-year-old little sister, a nice red scarf. But then the spring season came along, and we would hope that, like the passing of the season, spring would bring new life and enrichment. But unfortunately, the bullies picked up where they left off in the fall, and the name-calling and the bullying started once more. And it just so happens that on January 14th, 2010, 3 years ago today, that she was walking home from school, and these bullies in a car crept up alongside her, and they rolled down their windows, and they started shouting names again. And they threw a soda can in her direction. But she kept walking, past the insults, past the can, and into her home, crying. But she didn't find a safe haven there, because the bullying continued online and via text messages. I could imagine that she wasn't that hungry. She didn't have an appetite. She couldn't eat. She couldn't sleep. She couldn't focus on her homework. All she could recall were the memories of the bullying and the tormenting. She saw their faces in her mind, and she knew their names. So she took her memories and her dreams, and she knotted them up into that red scarf. She wrapped them around her neck and let the insurmountable force of gravity do the rest. She hanged herself in her second-story apartment in the stairwell, and her 12-year-old little sister found her later that evening. You see, when children are bullied, they're often faced with a fight or flight response. They usually choose the latter, but that doesn't really resolve the issue, does it? It's much like the geography of a cliff. We don't find it in the lows of the grassy meadows in the bottom of the valley where life is thriving and abundant. No, we find cliffs at the top of a dry and barren plateau. And as children are bullied relentlessly time and time again, and they're backpedaling, and they don't know where to turn or who to turn to, they find themselves at the edge of the cliff, and their only and often last retreat is off the edge of the cliff. We send our children to learn multiplication and long division, don't we? We send them to school for this. Instead, sometimes there's a multiplication of memories of torment without salvation. Our children's memories at school should be them looking forward to their report cards with satisfaction when they earn straight A's. It should be the fervent pep rallies and the thrill of the football games. Perhaps that acceptance letter into their university of choice that sets the stage for adulthood. And then lastly, the culminating capstone, senior prom. Strangely enough, 2 days after Phoebe's death, South Hadley High School had a dance. And everyone was dressed to the nines. And you can imagine the ballroom, the lights. You can hear the upbeat tempo of the music, and you can hear the laughter vibrating off of the ballroom floor. But Phoebe wasn't to be excluded. She was also dressed very nicely. But instead, she was adorned in a casket with flowers. The music more somber than upbeat. And there was weeping and wailing. Phoebe's dreams came to a nightmarish end, when the memories of her past muddled her hopes of a brighter future. May we never forget the memory of Phoebe Prince.